So welcome everyone. Welcome to Thriving Thursdays. We're so excited to have you here with us. We're in March, and it's in addition to being Social Work Month, it's Women's Month, and we have the lovely LaTanya Tolan here with us. She is the founder and CEO of Soul Care for Black clinicians. I am so excited to have you here. I'm really like in anticipation because you're supposed to be on last month. I took my second vaccine shot, and I was done for. And you're so gracious in your my very late cancellation. I'm like, please forgive me. I felt so bad. You were so gracious, so I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we just want to just take a moment also of silence to just acknowledge the women who were murdered, were gunned down in Atlanta this week. So just want to honor that. And we know like hate has no place for anyone. And so we just want to just acknowledge those folks there. This is LaTanya. We are here for Thriving Thursdays. And I just have a couple announcements that I'd love to share with you. So InnoPsych is in the running for the FedEx Small Business Grant, which is a $50,000 grant that if we were to win, I'm very ambitious and optimistic that it would really help to grow our network. Our goal this year is to bring in 2021 therapists of color into our network. We are at 400 now, so it's a big goal, but I know I can do that with your help. And so if you were to vote, the link is there, tiny URL, vote InnoPsych. So get out your phones and vote now. You can vote every day until March 24th. I've never been in anything like this. It's very intense. I know every day I have to remember, vote, vote, vote. So yeah, feel free to take a screenshot and you can vote later on. And then I also just want to also introduce our InnoPsych Therapist of Color directory. If you are a therapist of color and you're not on our directory yet, please join. It's free to join, and it's innopsych.com/join directory. And if you're someone who's in the market for a therapist of color, feel free to check out our network. It's a national database, so we're always adding to that database every week as well. So thank you all for being here. I think those are all of my announcements. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And again, welcome to all of you, and thank you for being here. So I am ready to have this conversation. Like I said, it's been like 2 months in the waiting. So one of the things I always start off with, and again, this is a platform that I really created to highlight mental health professionals and mental health advocates in our communities as a way to just talk, like just have conversation about mental health and emotional wellness. Like I want to normalize those conversations. So we're going to talk about your journey. And part of it is also making sure that we're building a pipeline of therapists of color who are coming into the field. Because I hear so many students say, oh, my family told me that's not a viable career. So also sharing our journeys and our stories are so important for everyone to hear. So I always love to start off with purpose. So what led you to social work?
Oh my goodness. So I was led to social work by way of law. I was the kid that grew up knowing that I was going to be an attorney. I wanted to be a children's advocate attorney. And it was so much so that you guys remember that show, I'm going to date myself, but the show LA Law.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And so it used to come on at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I was actually allowed to stay up late and watch it because everybody knew I wanted to be an attorney, you know? And so I guess 11th grade, I had my first like government class. And at the same time, I had a psychology class.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning psychology and also learning preambles and all this stuff that was really boring.
Right.
I'm like, this really isn't what I want to do. Right. And so I had an amazing psychology teacher, amazing. And she was like the gateway for me, and I was always the person everybody talked to about their problems. It just ended up being a good fit. And what I ended up seeing was instead of being a children's advocate attorney, I could still be a children's advocate, but as a social worker, and so that's kind of what was my transition. So actually for 11 years, I worked in the second largest school district in the nation, LAUSD, as a psychiatric social worker. For 11 of those years, I'm sorry, I was a psychiatric social worker. For the last 4, I was an administrator. So that was kind of made my way. That's how I got to social work from law.
Well, I'll tell you this because we can laugh together. So I don't know if I think we might have talked about this before, but I grew up in Barbados, and
Mhm.
I'd never met a psychologist. Didn't have any psychology classes. I did have a lovely sociology teacher, but I love this show called The Bob Newhart Show. And talk about dating yourself. And I'm definitely dating. Was this white guy psychologist who owned a bed and breakfast, but I was just fascinated by that and talking to people about their problems. And like you, I was the counselor in my
Yeah.
school, and hopefully no one tries to sue me for any harm caused by my 15-year-old
Right.
counselor self.
Oh
But
my
yeah, I felt drawn to it, similar
God.
to you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, so so um, so you started out and you worked in school, and I have a lot. So I'm actually in Boston Public School now working. I've been there for about 16 years. So lots of connections and
Yeah,
similarities in
for
our
sure.
paths. So you did worked in schools for a number of years as a clinician, and then went into administration. And then how did you get to being an entrepreneur and owning your own business? Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Oh my goodness. So actually, I've been telling everybody this because celebration looks different now in Corona land, as I call it, especially for those of us in California, where things are just starting to open back up. But February last month actually made 10 years that that I've been licensed. And then
Okay.
March this month makes 10 years that I've had my private practice. So,
Woo,
yes,
nice.
thank you. So, basically, for a long time, my private practice was just like a side hustle. It was something that I did, and I only saw adults in my practice for the bulk of the time. I did see kids a little bit, but I was kind of kidded out. I see
Hmm.
kids all those years, right? And so, I just really believe like God has started speaking to me about his purpose for my life. And I started just really wanting to be in obedience. And long story, short story, I knew eventually the day would come when I would step away. And I didn't know that it would be when I just left in December, so I didn't know that it would be, as soon as I did. I actually had planned on leaving June. I thought I would finish out the rest of the school year, but that
Hmm.
wasn't God's plan. And I'm so thankful that it was not. Um,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
really just taking the steps to listen to God and like kind of moving from the place of a side hustle to no, like I'm a for real business owner. Like let's just take it up to the next level, right? And do what I do. And honestly, really, really being in tune with myself. And I'm the person like anybody that knows me can tell you I'm like super happy, jovial. Like this is me. This
Yeah.
is my authentic self all the time. Just happy, cool, smiling. And I was starting to really notice a shift in my mood and my vibration
Mhm.
when I
Mhm.
had to go to work.
Mhm.
That's a problem. You
Yes.
work 40 hours a week. I don't know about y'all, but I need to be happy, you know.
Yes.
And so I really started to just pray and say, God, tell me what to do. Cause
Mhm.
I can't, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And he basically told me he was waiting on me. So
Mhm.
when I heard that, I knew that it was time. He had me, and I'm just gonna leap off. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
That is wonderful. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about for sure. So I'm definitely on that journey too. And it definitely gets to a place. And I think this last year has also helped me to refine and think about what is the vision that I want, right, for the
Yeah.
rest of my life. And I've been similar to you. I've been thinking about it, but it's really clear now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't it feel good like when you've made a decision and then you've acted on it? It's just like this, a whole sense of relief just kind of like
Oh
washes
my
over you.
gosh. Like it's really a lot deeper. I think as clinicians, we have the propensity sometimes to be very cerebral.
Mhm. Oh,
And
yes.
right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And, and so,
That's
you
being
know,
generous.
right, I am, okay. um, and so trying to step out of that place to a place like in faith, logic doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? And so coming from that place and trying to step into the faith place, I'm literally, you can't see me, I'm literally shaking as I'm talking about this because oh God, it was like the best decision ever. You know,
Mhm.
it was just the best decision ever. And I'm just utterly grateful. I know that I'm in my purpose. I know that I'm making some serious impacts and much more than I could make working for somebody else for 40 hours,
Right. Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
And when we're talking about life and purpose and the plan that God has for you, you need to really be all in, you
Mhm.
know? And so no shade to my past and my, all of that, because it got me to where I am and
Right.
all the wonderful experiences that I've had. But it was just time.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
time to transition. It was just
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think there may be folks here who maybe at this place where they're trying to think about what's next or trying to make that, from A to B place.
Mhm.
And so it's definitely possible. And, so that's a lot of the work. I know we'll talk a bit about some of your actual work that you're doing too with Black clinicians. But, in my work with people who are looking to start their practices, it's that transition from that security of the full-time work and having your benefits taken care of and everything, and then to like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm gonna have to take care of this on my own. There's a oh my God piece, but it's also like, wow, like the independence and the freedom to see who I want to see and kind of
Yeah.
dictate my schedule the way that I want to.
Oh my
It's so
God.
important.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think has been amazing about me just leaping off is because I
Hmm.
said for years, I would be cool if I could just work Tuesday through Thursday. And that's
Hmm.
exactly what I work because why I dictate my calendar.
Yes.
You know, you know, if I want to be out of town, there's no bounds now, especially under
Yeah.
everything's virtual, you know.
Right.
And so
Right.
I'm really looking like in the same way that you said about really looking forward about what you want your future to look like. And for me, I really spent a lot of time working. Like I've been working since I was 15.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been working multiple jobs. I've been in school. Like I've done everything in social work almost. But I really, much as I enjoy it, I do want to pull back a little bit. And I've traveled all around the
Mhm.
world. I told you I've been to Barbados, loved it,
Right.
been
Right.
all over, right? But yeah, really looking forward to like what I want my life to look like. And I do believe that I'm a co-creator with God and what that looks like. So
Hmm.
if he has this for me, whatever he has is going to be better than me,
Right.
And so,
Right.
yes, you do have those thoughts about, oh my God, I'm leaving. Like in my case, I was leaving a 6-figure job. Benefits were the bomb, and I didn't pay a dime for benefits,
Hmm. Hmm.
A secure job during a pandemic. I left during a pandemic, you know,
Yeah. Wow.
but
Yeah.
taking the leap of faith, right? And it's been
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's funny. I feel like I'm already going off script, but that's what this is about. So my 4 words for this year, and I usually definitely start my year with goal setting, and this is a second year I've done vision boarding. But I
Mhm.
added like my 4 words of intention that I wanted for my life. And one was faith,
Yeah.
right? The second one, and it's like my fab life. So the second one is abundance, because
Mhm.
I often live with this scarcity. So I'm like holding
Mm,
on to things or not doing because I'm worried that I'm not going to have, right? So this sense of
right.
security, but it was draining, right? It's like a lot of fear that
Sure.
comes with that. And then boundaries and balance. So I just
Mm,
love how you've talked today about faith, your faith and how that co-creating with God, like how your spiritual life and your spiritual relationship with God has allowed you to make these really bold decisions. I'm sure there are people in your life like, she's crazy. Like, why is she leaving this good job?
oh my God. You don't even understand. And then let me tell you the cold-blooded killer. So you see how short my hair is, right?
Yeah.
And my hair was literally to the middle of my back. So I literally made the decision to cut my hair off and leave my job in the same week. So everybody thought I had lost my mind. Okay. everybody thought I had lost my mind.
Yeah. It's so funny. So I had my mom on in February, and that was the first night I brought her on. But we talked about, so she was an entrepreneur, and she talked about that leaving that full-time job. And she's like, yeah, people thought I had lost my mind. She's like, but I knew what I was doing. I had my plan, so I wasn't worried. Yeah. So
Yes.
that's great. So tell us a little bit about kind of your soul care for Black clinicians. So what do you like? How did you decide to focus on Black clinicians in the first place?
Mhm.
Because I don't see a lot of practices that one even focus on therapists of color, and I think now it's so needed because I think we're just overwhelmed by the demand for mental health services. And I know a lot of us are, filling up our calendars to meet that demand. So why did you decide to focus on Black clinicians?
So I have always had a great understanding that Black clinicians have very unique needs,
Mm-hmm.
and it came from, again, me working in the schools and kind of informally creating a group of Black social workers where we
Mm-hmm.
all got together and did kind of social events and holidays and kind of support each other, consultation, shared interventions, that kind of thing. And for several of those years, I was the president of that informal group.
Okay.
And we just had very different needs. And so it was definitely something that between parenting and Black clinicians, those are always like two of my top like
Mm-hmm.
jams,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so so take kind of having that experience and continue to build upon that, and really really understanding the differences and the uniqueness of our needs and the importance of consultation, all those different pieces. um I really began to just hold on to how important that was. And as time progressed, again, going back to the spiritual life, why it's super duper key, God began to tell me years ago, I just didn't act on it right away, that I was supposed to focus on Black clinicians.
Mm,
And so, so that's kind of how that came about. And I think that everything happens in the right timing, because even though I knew years ago, I didn't
mm-hmm.
make the transition until 2019.
Right.
And look at the timing of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
we've always had very different, unique needs. Like we would see it even, for example, Black clinicians working with kids, and how we
Mm-hmm.
had to advocate harder for our Black kids to not be
Right.
placed in ED programs, or to, just different pieces,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
culturally, how I've had to teach parents how to advocate for their children's mental health and how to speak to it from a place where they won't be over pathologized,
Right.
like
Right.
different pieces, right? And so really we just have very unique needs. And so I think that in this particular time, we're dealing with two pandemics. We're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
COVID, and we're dealing with the
Mm-hmm.
continual racial pandemic, right? There's been
Right.
research out there that calls it oh God, COVID-19, COVID-16,
Mm-hmm.
19. And
Mm-hmm.
so dealing with these things now, we're just in a different place where we have all these things going on, and we're the people that take care of other people, but who's taking care of us? You know? And so I hope you're okay. I saw you cough. Okay.
Thank you.
So, sure, of course. So that is where, like, what kind of fuels my passion, and the fact that I'm a Black clinician. I've lived this life. I live it every day. I know
Right.
what this is,
Right.
and
Right.
racial trauma, and it just, I can go on and on about it. But so yeah, that's kind of where it all stemmed from years ago. So again, just the yellow brick
Right.
road, God ordering my
Right.
steps,
Right. And you during that time, and I always tell people, like, things will come, just be patient too. But you are building up that, now you have this whole group that you could leverage from, right? That you were able to gain their experience and hear from them. And so I'm sure that you brought that into how you were going to craft your business and really
Yeah.
launch that.
What's interesting is that oh my God, I have the most amazing, I serve the most amazing people. I always say that if there were not a such thing as, like, professional therapeutic boundaries, I would be hanging out with all my clients. So just right? They're just amazing, right? And so my definition of clinician is not just therapists. So
Mhm.
my practice, I have doctors, I have nurses, I have coaches, I have EMTs. So like basically any professional Black healer, I'm here for you, you know. Um, and so yeah, it's just it's definitely something that all the different people in my practice have also brought to the table, and I'm seeing very common threads amongst people, you know, with needs that we all have, even though we may be in different professions but still healing other people. And we
Right.
still have our own childhood traumas, we still have our own things that are happening in our lives. Just because we're
Right.
clinicians doesn't mean life doesn't happen, you know.
Right.
We're
Right.
dealing with being Black in America.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
these are like
Yeah.
common threads. And so, and boundaries, you know, just a bunch of different things. So a lot of different pieces have began to cultivate, you know, what is my business and kind of what it looks like now.
Right. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said that, I really try to tell people, because I think sometimes our clients see us and they think, oh, the therapist has it all figured out, or their life is, they make kind of judgments about our lives. Like, yeah, no, we deal with stuff too. And,
Oh my
question is always like, how do you do this hard work? Right. And it's like, well, there's certain ways that we're trained. It allows us to kind of create space, how we bring self-care into our work. But we are still affected by the things that we do. We're not like,
God.
robots where we turn on and off our emotions. But
Mm-hmm.
as you talk about that, we are people, and we do, we've had our own childhood traumas that we're trying to work through and
And
recover
adult
from.
traumas too. Adult
Huh?
traumas too.
And adult, right, exactly, right. So, would one of the things that I often ask my guests, and again, it's part of that transparency and sharing, like we've had hard things and we've also figured out ways to kind of work through it. I'd love to hear you share a personal struggle that you've dealt with and how you've navigated that situation. What are some tools that you use to help you manage it and recover?
Oh, child. You know, I have had, I'm trying to say this without crying. I've had a lot of loss,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
lot of loss, a lot of dense periods where multiple people have passed.
Hmm.
Um, 2018, my mom passed very unexpectedly, and that was
Okay.
already after 900 people had already passed, right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
um, I think so for me, that has been an ongoing theme in my life is grief and loss. And
Okay.
so having to navigate through that, definitely going back to my spiritual walk with God, you know,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
woof, it just makes me
Hmm.
think about that. So I never would have made it
Yeah.
because grief can take your breath away, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
so really like working on yourself, going to therapy, having
Hmm.
that spiritual relationship, having like I have an amazing group, social
Hmm.
supports, you know, from family to friends,
Right.
friends that have become family, you know,
Right.
um, and really, really just living out in authenticity. Like
Hmm.
I'm a real person, you
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and that's okay. Like, and I think honestly, that's what makes me great at what I do is that I am very transparent with my clients. You know, I go the opposite way from, you know, in school we were taught like don't self-disclose, you know, right? And I'm so the opposite. Like I feel like if it's going to help my clients, I'm going to share. You know,
Hmm.
the Bible
Hmm.
says iron sharpens iron, you know, so we're
Hmm.
supposed to help one another, right? And you know, things just hit different when you know somebody that has been through something that you've been through. Like, I believe we're supposed to support people so that they can be better in their journey when you've already walked. Like, if I walked that, why would I not
Hmm.
help you?
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Why
Right.
would I do that? And on a
Yeah.
whole nother level, my Black people, I want y'all to win, period. So if I'm
Hmm.
going to be a part of that winning, this is what it is,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
And so I think just having a soul care plan and taking care of myself, doing things that feel good to me, you know, leaning on people as independent as I am. Like you really, sometimes you have to lean on people for
Hmm.
support and things when you're really going through. And so I think all those things combined are what got me through.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's so much here. I have to like, we're gonna
I
come
saw
back to
you
soul
taking
care
notes. I
plan.
said, "Oh
I'm like,
Lord."
I'm trying to keep up with all this knowledge you just dropped, it, lady. I'm gonna note soul care plan. We're gonna come back to what that is.
Mhm.
And I want to talk, and I have the notes here in terms of what you did to kind of work through some of the grief. And I'm also going to come back to the like how we were trained. So I got to come back to that as well, or training. And I think the thing with grief, when we've lost people who are close to us, like it never goes away, right? It never fully evaporates. It doesn't. It's just not like, does not go down to zero, right? And I really appreciate you sharing that, and I can see how the emotion around that. And so it sounds like your mom just passed not too long ago, so my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
And we also know that people are like, this is something that we've all kind of felt at a very profound level over this last year with just the COVID. And it sounds like for you, like your faith has been crucial and critical to that. Leaning on people, and I'll just call out, Black women, like we're the ones who take care of people, and sometimes we leave ourselves
Everybody.
last,
Yes.
right? If we do,
Everybody.
and then we're empty, like we're done,
Yes.
we don't have anything for ourselves.
Yeah.
You talk about your social network and that, like that ability to let people know that you need them,
Yeah.
right? That's huge. And then accessing therapy. So thank you for sharing those. I think those are really, really crucial pieces that clearly have helped you, but I know a lot of people also can benefit from that, and also use that as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Lots to unpack. And I know, again, like I know this is a time where people are really struggling, and we just encourage you, if you're out there dealing with grief, that it's definitely, there's good days and bad days, or different days, and that pain is never really goes away, but that there are resources out there for you, and connecting, and which I think is like the challenge with this COVID situation, is that connecting can be challenging. So we do encourage you to reach out and connect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but going back to that, how we were trained, and this comes up so much, because on this show I only talk to mental health professionals of color, right? And so that is a theme, as you imagine, is like how we were trained, and then like particularly going into schools. My teenagers like, you're gonna have to share, because you're like my auntie. Like, I need advice. I need you to show up and be you. And like, what is this therapist saying that you can't share with me? So I got my whole on the job training from my teenagers, and I had to change how I was practicing, because it was not working. And I just appreciate everyone and on that journey, and the teens. And one of my supervisors, she was like, "Oh yeah, that's not gonna work. That thing that you learned in the hospital setting.
No. No. And it doesn't work for them, but also for me as a clinician, it doesn't work either. Because again, I show up, who people know me as personally is who you also know me as professionally. I show up as myself no matter where I am. If you have a problem with that, that's your problem.
Right.
So I have to show up authentically as myself. So that's just what it is. I mean, maybe some people want, people that want therapists that don't share. I'm not the one for you. Like, why am I going to let you jump on a landmine, and I've already mastered that? Why would I do that?
Right.
I
love that. So let's talk. So as we talk about healing, one of the things that I always ask our therapists and our clinicians to talk about, like, what are strategies that you use for healing, that you use with clients, and that you recommend? So I'm guessing the soul care plan is part of that. So I'd love you to kind of drop some knowledge on what that soul care plan is.
Oh my God. So it's so funny when people ask me that, because soul care looks different for different people. You have to define what feels good to your soul. So a part of mine, for example, is being who I am. I love who I am, and I'm her. I show up as her every single day. If she has to cry, she just cries. She has to laugh, she's gonna be crazy and make a joke. That's just how it goes down. That's a part of that. But also, again, just really, really a big part of soul care, that this piece I think applies to everyone, is really, really listening intently to your spirit.
Mm.
You know, listening intently to your spirit and making a deal with yourself to not go against what you know to be true, what your spirit is telling you.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Mm-hmm.
all done it. I definitely have, you know.
Right.
Um, but really, really just choosing to listen to that. Like I just always feel like, and I say this all the time, that I feel like my spirit, my first mind, my intuition, all that is the Holy Spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
whether it's this big or this big, if I don't
Mm-hmm.
follow that, I always regret it.
Mm.
Always,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So really
Mm-hmm.
being a part of committing to yourself to listen to that spirit, trust that spirit. It's there to guide you. It
Right.
loves you, you know.
Right.
It wants
Right.
what's best for you, right? Um, and then also just really being very conscientious about the things that you do that um you should be doing to take care of yourself. And again, this is the part that is different for different people. You know, like pre-COVID, I was getting massages every month. I like to get my, manis and pedis and, all the different things. Hang out with people that I love, prayer and meditation. I love to, you can see my library behind me. I love to
Mm-hmm.
read,
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so just doing things that really, really feel good to you, that just make you feel at peace,
Mm-hmm.
make you feel at peace,
Yes. I love
Um,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And as I talk with a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes they're letting their hustle get in the way. And I've definitely been guilty of that. So I'm not going to talk like I got it all like sorted out.
Right, right, right.
But sometimes our hustle can get in the way of our peace of mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So you have to find ways to navigate even through that. Like, one thing for me is that I'm not the easiest at trusting folks. And that's something I'm working on because I need to really start doing more delegation in my business.
Mhm.
So that, you know,
I
that's what it
feel
is,
you. I feel
right?
you. But nobody's gonna do it just the right way like you will.
Yes, right. So that's a way, like, really being mindful about not letting the hustle take you over,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's a way to start delegating and, really trying to make the good matches for who and what you need in your business.
Right. Very good. So are you the only clinician, or you have a team of clinicians who also you have in your practice?
So today it's just me, but I actually have two and a half that will be starting very shortly. Yeah,
Nice. Nice. That is
already in
amazing. Very
talks.
good. Very
Thank
good.
you. I'm excited about that.
Very good. So I definitely, I forgot to tell folks, but if you have any questions for LaTanya, or you have anything to add to the conversation, please feel free to drop it in the chat. I have just a couple more questions, and then people, you have questions, feel free to pop it in the chat and we'll get to that. So as we celebrate Social Work Month, what are things that you're highlighting? What are things that you're committing to as we celebrate this month? And what does it mean for you? What does Social Work Month mean for you?
Yeah, this one is an interesting month because again, like I said, it's 10 years that I've had my private practice. It's also the month that I'll be bringing in my clinicians, so that's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
I'm celebrating and kind of
Yes,
commemorating that.
yes.
Um, it also is interesting because we're in COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's things look very different, and like I said, here in California, other places have been open, and Texas is wilding, they're open with no mask, you know what I mean? California, we're just barely, like, I went to breakfast this morning at a restaurant, and this is the first time I've been able to eat inside
Oh,
since I
wow.
don't know how long,
Right.
and it's still at
Okay.
limited capacity. We still got to wear masks.
Yes.
Um, which I would anyway, whether or not, no, I'm clowning yesterday, Tony, because it's fact.
Tony has something to say.
Wilding.
Tony.
Yes. Texas is wilding, okay? But yeah, so I'm sorry if I got thrown off now with all
Oh,
of that.
don't
What
worry
was the
about. Oh no,
question?
you're good. This is all. Look, this is all good.
Okay.
Tony's a part of this conversation as well, so he had to make his piece be known.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So yeah,
Oh,
we
you
were
said
talking
one
about
of-
social work month and like
oh, your
kind of what does
social
it
work
mean to
month.
you? Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. So again, this is a different kind of month because this is the year of all the things I just mentioned, right?
Mhm.
And how I got off on the tangent about California being closed because this would have been a month where I would have had like a party or some kind of celebration to
Mhm.
celebrate my
Your
accomplishments.
wins. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, So I think that, and then I have so many other things going on. Like I'm in school, it's just a lot moving right now that
Mhm.
I'm not celebrating in the typical way that I would. But I will share this. A really good friend of mine that years ago, I was actually her supervisor. And so I really got to know her really well. And I was just on her like, hey, you really need to go get your MSW. Like I could so see
Mhm.
you, like your heart. Like I know you're a social worker, right? So she ended up going to get her social work degree at my school. I told her to
Mhm.
advocate to have my same thesis advisor. She got her, had a fabulous experience.
Nice.
So
Nice.
anyway, yesterday she comes over my house and she brings me this bag like full of goodies. And she was like, I just wanted to celebrate you in social work month. I thought that was the sweetest
Oh,
thing,
nice.
a
Very
t-shirt,
cool.
all kind of snacks, a journal,
Oh,
fruit,
wow.
posters, highlighters, all kinds of stuff in this bag.
Wow.
So I wanted to share that because even though I haven't been doing things to celebrate per se, other people still are. And there are
Yes.
things like that are happening, and
Nice.
that made my
Great.
whole day. It was a total surprise.
Very cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
I do quickly, because I know we have to wrap up. Anything that you would advocate for as we think about this mental health pandemic that we're about to be in because of just the lack of, therapists. Everybody's
That we
looking for
are
therapy
in.
right now that we are in,
We
right?
are in.
And particularly for folks of color who we already know, like our numbers are like less than 15% of, all mental professionals. So
Mhm.
and are people actually looking for therapy now? What do you think about that? What are some things that we are gonna have to do creatively to make sure we're meeting the need?
Mm. I think, no shade against anybody else, but I think that other races always look out for their people, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
crime when Black people look out for theirs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so my business name is what it is, and it's registered. It's clear on who I serve, and that's what it is. And so I think
Yeah.
that, more clinicians, is particularly those that are entrepreneurs, you have more say so kind of over your crowd and in your population
Right.
that you focus on. Being more conscientious about focusing on your people, specifically, or even
Mm-hmm.
people of other peoples of color, other BIPOC
Yeah.
communities, right? But
Yeah.
it's always a crime when Black people focus on. I was just
Mm-hmm.
having this conversation earlier, when we talk about white power versus Black power. Black
Mm-hmm.
power, we ain't trying to hurt you.
Right.
We gonna protect us, right?
Yes.
But you've
Yes.
always wanted to hurt us. So the difference in
Yes.
the economist BS, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that with entrepreneurs really focusing on serving our folks, I think
Yeah.
that's super duper key.
Yeah. Great. Oh my gosh, this has been an amazing conversation, and I really, really appreciate that last point. And, even for me too, it was like, I was wanted to be clear about who I wanted to serve and who I wanted to give access
Mhm.
to. I remember when I first started out in my career, I was like shy to say, like I was nervous, right?
Mhm.
That whole thing about like maybe the
Mhm.
white gaze, right? Or what are people going to think? Or
Right.
maybe like, am I going to be successful if I focus on my people? And yes, when I opened my doors, I didn't have to do any advertising, right? You do
Right.
good work and people find you
Do
and they
good work.
refer you to folks.
Prefer.
So
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, so I just thank you for sharing that. And I just,
Sure.
one of the things I want to lift up in as we kind of wrap up is, soul care is about listening intently to your spirit. I just love that. Y'all, somebody needs to tweet that.
Hey.
Post that out there somewhere. That is amazing.
Thank
So
you. Yeah.
I just really want to thank you for being here and for being part of this conversation.
Thank you for
I'm going to
having me.
reach out to you because there's so much, and like, I love your energy and
Thank you.
love what you're doing. So I definitely want to make sure we
Yeah.
staying connected and
Oh yeah, absolutely. You
support
stuck
and
with me,
uplift.
Charmaine.
Good.
Stuck with me.
And the same to you.
Good.
So yeah, I just want to be able to support and uplift our businesses and make sure that we
That would
continue
be
to grow.
great. Yeah.
But again, thank you for being here. And I
Thank
don't see any
you.
questions, but I think you were very clear in your purpose and your mission. And again, if you are a therapist out there, really, I hope the message today is about how do you take care of yourself and your mental health. That is important. And we need to be able to take care of ourselves so that we can continue to give to our clients. And if you're someone out there who was thinking about therapy and you're not sure, again, some of the work that we have been really promoting is that as clinicians, we were trained a certain way, but we've evolved that. We've translated it to make sure it works for our communities and our people. So trust that we're doing the work to make sure that when you come to us, and you might want to do your research to make sure that the person gets it right too. So I always go do your research, but
Absolutely.
we're out there, even though our numbers are small, we're out there to help. So thank you all for being here. And thank you, LaTanya, for just being yourself and sharing with us so generously.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. And Erin, she'll post the links in the chat. Again, stay connected to InnoPsych. Next week, we have Anthony Eaststreet, who will be coming to talk around addictions in Black communities. So really powerful conversation that we're continuing to have. Take care, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.